Let me tell you about the day the Galactic Council made their greatest mistake. Oh, pardon my manners. I am Ambassador Talon K. Vex of the Centaur Alliance, and I had a front row seat to what would become the most entertaining political blunder in the history of spacefaring civilizations. The Grand Council chamber sparkled with its usual pretentiousness that day, with hovering platforms arranged in concentric circles holding representatives from 200 species, all draped in their finest ceremonial robes. The human delegation stood at the center platform, looking remarkably composed for a species about to be rejected by the galaxy's most prestigious governing body. High Counselor Zara M. Taith, with her characteristic 7-foot-tall frame and shimmering scales, rose from her seat. Her voice boomed through the chamber. The Council has reached its decision regarding Earth's petition for membership. I noticed Trade Minister Benjamin Hawks of Earth maintaining perfect posture, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped the podium. Next to him, Captain Lyra Novak's face remained perfectly neutral, but her green eyes burned with an intensity that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. The petition is denied, M. Taith announced, her secondary breathing gills fluttering with poorly concealed satisfaction. Earth's technological advancement rate is deemed too aggressive. Your species' propensity for rapid military expansion poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. The chamber erupted in murmurs of agreement, though I noticed several ambassadors looking distinctly uncomfortable. The Arcturus representative beside me whispered, "Well, that's rich coming from the species that invented planet-cracking mining operations." Minister Hawks cleared his throat, silencing the chamber. "Distinguished members of the Council, while we respect your decision, we feel obligated to point out the short-sightedness of your judgment." M. Taith's scales rippled in annoyance. "Are you questioning the wisdom of this council, Minister Hawks?" "Not at all, High Counselor." Hawks smiled, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped several degrees. "I am merely suggesting that in your eagerness to contain humanity, you may have overlooked a fundamental truth about our species." Captain Novak stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber. "We didn't come here seeking permission to advance. We came extending an offer of partnership." Several council members laughed, but I noticed M. Taith's secondary gills had stopped fluttering. The human delegation began making their way toward the exit, but Hawks paused at the chamber doors. "A word of advice, esteemed council," he said, his tone dripping with political sweetness. "You might want to reconsider your policy on independent technological advancement. You never know when you might need friends who think outside your carefully constructed box." The doors closed behind them with a quiet hiss, leaving an unsettled silence in their wake. I looked around at my fellow council members, most of whom were already returning to their usual self-important discussions. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just witnessed something significant. "Rather dramatic exit," commented Ambassador P. Talk of the RAL Confederation, his tentacles curling in amusement. "Indeed," I replied, watching M. Taith trying to restore order to the chamber. "But I can't help wondering if we'll come to regret not having humans inside our circle of influence." P. Talk's tentacles waved dismissively. What could they possibly accomplish on their own? They're centuries behind most council races in technological development. I smiled, remembering the glint in Captain Novak's eyes. "That's exactly what makes them dangerous, my friend. We've just told a species known for their resourcefulness and determination that they're not good enough for our club." "You worry too much," P. Talk chuckled. "What's the worst that could happen?" As the session resumed and the council moved on to debating trade tariffs on luxury goods, I couldn't help but think that we were about to find out exactly what humans were capable of when pushed into a corner. And something told me it would be quite the show. Hawks gestured to the holographic display, his expression unyielding. "These worlds have pledged their support not because we demanded it, but because they see a future with Earth's coalition, a future where innovation thrives, where progress is not stifled by outdated regulations, and where the needs of individual systems are not overlooked in favor of maintaining an illusion of control." High Counselor Mteth's gills flared with frustration. This coalition of yours may seem promising now, but it lacks the stability and structure of the Galactic Council. Do you truly believe this experiment will endure? Admiral Sterling leaned forward, his weathered face resolute. What you call stability, we call stagnation. What you see as structure, we see as shackles. The galaxy doesn't need another millennia of the same tired policies. It needs growth, adaptability, and a willingness to face the unknown without fear. Mteth's voice wavered, but she held her ground. And what happens when your so-called coalition crumbles under the weight of its own ambitions? When disagreements arise and worlds break away, who will keep the peace then? It was Commander Blackwood who responded, her voice calm but steely. The same ones who kept the peace when the Council failed. Those willing to act. Earth isn't here to replace the Council's rule with another form of control. We're offering partnership, collaboration, a chance to build something better together. But make no mistake, whether the Council chooses to join us or not, the galaxy is changing. The tension in the room was palpable. I could see the uncertainty in the eyes of my fellow ambassadors, the hesitation in their gestures. We had spent millennia enforcing a system we believed unbreakable, only to watch it crumble in the face of humanity's determination. And now we stood at a crossroads. Cling to the familiar, or step into a future we could barely comprehend. As the negotiations continued, it became clear that Earth's coalition wasn't merely an offer. It was a reality we couldn't ignore. The systems that had joined them were thriving, their economies bolstered by unfettered innovation, their fleets protected by Earth's unparalleled technological advancements. Even worlds that had long been loyal to the Council were beginning to question their allegiance. When the meeting finally adjourned, the Council members were given time to deliberate. I found myself wandering the observation deck of the EIS Defiance, gazing out at the stars. The ship's quantum core pulsed faintly, a reminder of the power and ingenuity that had brought humanity to this moment. Ambassador Talk joined me, his tentacles curling thoughtfully. It's quite the spectacle, isn't it? To think just 5 years ago, we dismissed them as nothing more than upstarts. I nodded, my thoughts heavy. We underestimated them. And now, we're faced with the consequences of our arrogance. The question is, can we adapt, or will we be left behind? Talk's tentacles waved dismissively. Adaptation has never been the Council's strong suit. But perhaps this time, we have no choice. As we returned to the conference room for the final vote, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Humanity had forced us to confront our flaws, to question the very foundations of our governance. And while the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again.